Morning came quickly aboard Nexus Station. Allison woke before the station lights had fully brightened to simulate dawn. She performed her exercises with practiced precision. Despite the ache in her synthetic legs, the Zarkonian atmosphere was heavier than Earth standard, affecting even her enhanced body. A chime at her door interrupted her final stretches. Karen Lee, the ambassador's assistant, stood in the doorway looking nervous. "The princess has arrived early for your demonstration. She's waiting in the training bay with her royal guards." Allison nodded. "Thank you, I'll be there shortly." Commander Wright. "The ambassador is concerned about this. The Zarkonians are known for their brutal combat styles." Allison smiled slightly. "Diplomacy takes many forms. Karen, sometimes respect is earned through action rather than words." She dressed in a simple black training uniform, leaving her powered armor behind as promised. The weight of her sidearm, normally a comfort, was noticeably absent as she walked through the station corridors. The training bay doors slid open, revealing Princess Zila surrounded by 6 massive Zarkonian warriors, each bearing ceremonial scars, denoting their battle achievements. The princess herself wore fitted combat attire that accentuated her powerful frame rather than the elaborate royal garments of yesterday. Guard Right. Zila called, her voice carrying across the chamber. "I feared you might reconsider our arrangement." Allison bowed respectfully. "I keep my promises, Your Highness." Ambassador Porter stood to one side, her expression tense beside her. The Zarkonian diplomat Trill watched with undisguised curiosity. "Shall we begin?" Zila gestured to the training mat. "A simple demonstration. Perhaps you could show us how humans train." Allison stepped onto the mat, conscious of all eyes upon her. "With your permission, I'll demonstrate our standard combat forms." She began, slowly moving through the series of strikes, blocks, and kicks that formed the foundation of Terran combat training. Her movements precise and fluid despite the heavier gravity. As she progressed, she increased her speed, her body becoming almost a blur of motion. The Zarkonian guards watched with professional interest, whispering among themselves, "Impressive control," Zila commented. "But these are merely exercises. How do humans fare against actual opponents?" Allison completed her form before responding, "We typically spar with partners to test our skills." Zila smiled, revealing sharp teeth. "Excellent, I volunteer." Ambassador Porter stepped forward. "Your Highness, perhaps one of your guards would be more appropriate given your royal status." "Nonsense, Ambassador." Zila waved away the concern. "How better to understand human capabilities than to experience them firsthand?" She stepped onto the mat, towering over Allison, her muscled blue form making the human appear even smaller by comparison. "Shall we use practice weapons or empty hands?" Allison asked. "Empty hands for now," Zila replied, "unless you require advantages." Allison shook her head. "This will be fine." They circled each other, Allison keeping her distance, studying the aliens' movements. Zila struck first, a lightning-fast swipe that would have connected, had Allison not anticipated it. Ducking under the blow, she spun away, maintaining her defensive posture. "You are quick," Zila noted, "but you cannot win by merely avoiding contact." "Different species, different strategies," Allison replied before launching into a series of strikes targeting pressure points that worked on most humanoid species. Zila blocked most, but 2 connected, causing her to grunt in surprise. "You know Zarkonian anatomy. I studied extensively for this mission." Their sparring intensified, Zila's superior strength and reach giving her clear advantages, while Allison relied on speed, technique, and knowledge of biomechanics. Several times the princess nearly pinned the human, only for Allison to escape using leverage rather than force. After 15 minutes, both showed signs of exertion. Allison's breathing had become labored while Zila's scales had darkened with increased blood flow. "Enough," Zila finally called, stepping back. "You fight well for your species limitations." Allison bowed. "Again, thank you, Your Highness. But now I am curious." The princess continued. "Your fighting style seems defensive, focused on survival rather than victory. Is this common among humans?" Allison considered her response, aware of the diplomatic implications. "Humans developed fighting techniques based on our evolutionary history as persistence hunters. We survived not by being the strongest, but by outlasting our prey We apply similar principles in combat. Zila's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. Fascinating. Yet your species has conquered significant portions of the galaxy. This suggests more than mere survival tactics. Perhaps a demonstration with equipment would illustrate, Allison suggested. With your permission. The princess nodded. Intrigued, Allison retrieved a set of training batons from a nearby rack. These simulate our standard weapons. The weight and balance are identical. Though they won't cause lasting damage, may I request one of your guards as an opponent? Zila gestured, and her largest guard stepped forward, taking the offered weapons with a skeptical expression. These are too light to be effective. Weight isn't everything, Allison replied. Taking her position, this match began differently. The Zarkonian guard immediately pressed. His advantage using brute force and reach, Allison parried and dodged the powerful blows, her movements economical and precise. She seemed to flow around the guard rather than confronting him directly. When she struck her blows, targeted joints, nerve clusters, and balance points gradually. The guard's movement slowed as minor impacts accumulated. After 5 minutes of intense exchange, Allison executed a sweeping maneuver that sent the guard crashing to the mat. His weapons clattering away, the chamber fell silent. Allison helped the stunned guard to his feet. Thank you for the match, the Zarkonian warriors murmured among themselves while Zila approached with new interest. You defeated Grell. He has won 17 ritual combats. Different. Approaches different results. Allison replied. Humans learn to use our opponent's strength against them. Zila studied Allison with all 4 eyes. You are full of surprises, guard right. I begin to understand why your ambassador selected you for this mission. Ambassador Porter finally relaxed slightly as the tension in the room dissipated. Perhaps, Zila continued, we could continue these cultural exchanges. I would like to learn more about human combat techniques, and in return I could teach you Zarkonian methods. I would be honored, Your Highness. As they left the training bay, Allison noticed the Zarkonian guards regarding her with newfound respect. The princess walked beside her rather than ahead, an unprecedented gesture. Tonight, there will be a formal dinner to celebrate our negotiations, Zila said. You will attend as my personal guest. Allison glanced at Ambassador Porter, who nodded her approval. Thank you, Princess Zila. I look forward to it. What had begun as a test had become something more, a bridge between species built on mutual respect and the universal language of warriors. The diplomatic dinner was held in the Grand Hall of Nexus Station with representatives from both species seated according to elaborate protocols. Allison found herself placed directly beside Princess Zila, a position that raised eyebrows among both delegations. Your formal attire suits you, guard right? Zila remarked, examining Allison's dress uniform. Though I notice you still wear no decorations despite your accomplishments. Human military tradition reserves displays for ceremonial occasions, Allison explained. We're taught that actions speak louder than symbols. The princess considered this interesting. In Zarkonian culture, we wear our history on our bodies. She gestured to the intricate patterns etched into her scales. Each mark tells a story of victory or loss, as servants brought platters of carefully selected foods compatible with both species' biology. Ambassador Porter rose to deliver the opening address. Honored guests, tonight marks a historic moment in relations between our peoples. She began. For centuries we have observed each other across the stars with caution and misunderstanding. But now we sit together sharing food and conversation. The first steps toward lasting peace. Trill the Zarkonian diplomat followed with similar sentiments, though his speech emphasized the strength and honor of both warrior cultures. Finding common ground in mutual respect, Allison noticed several Zarkonian guards watching her. Their expressions unreadable, but their posture less hostile than before. News of her training session with the princess had clearly spread. They are curious about you, Zila whispered. Few non-Zarkonians have earned even grudging respect from the royal guard. I hope I represented humanity well, better than you know, the princess replied. There is talk among my people questioning whether humans are as weak as we believed. Dinner proceeded with multiple courses, each chosen to showcase cultural delicacies. Allison struggled. With some of the Zarkonian offerings, their preference for living food challenging her earthborn sensibilities. but she maintained her composure during a brief musical interlude performed by human and Zarkonian musicians attempting a fusion of styles. Zila leaned closer. "There is something I wish to show you after the dinner, a matter of some importance." Allison glanced at Ambassador Porter engaged in conversation across the table. "I would need permission. It has been arranged," Zila assured. Your ambassador agrees that deepening our personal connection serves the diplomatic mission." Curiosity piqued. Allison nodded. "Then I would be honored." As the dinner concluded with ceremonial drinks, Zila stood drawing attention. "In the spirit of cultural exchange, I invite Guard Right to join me for a traditional Zarkonian star. Viewing our ancestors believed that sharing the night sky forged bonds that transcended mere treaties." Ambassador Porter smiled diplomatically. "A wonderful gesture, Your Highness. Commander Wright will represent humanity with distinction." Minutes later, Allison found herself following Zila through restricted areas of the station. Her security clearance temporarily elevated. They entered a small transport vessel. "We're leaving the station," Allison observed as hatches sealed just briefly. Zila assured her. "Nexus obscures the true beauty of the surrounding stars." The vessel detached, smoothly accelerating away from the massive structure as it cleared the station's shadow. The viewport filled with a spectacular stellar panorama. The binary suns of this system casting multicolored light across an asteroid field. Zila dimmed the cabin lights. "Now we can see properly," Allison gasped, despite herself. The view was breathtaking. "It's beautiful. This sector has special significance to my people," Zila explained. "According to our histories, this is where the first Zarkonian ships ventured beyond our home system 5,000 years ago. Humanity only achieved interstellar travel 3 centuries ago." Allison admitted. "Your civilization has a significant head start." Zila turned from the viewport, studying Allison. "Yet in those 3 centuries, you have expanded faster than any species in recorded history. Some find this concerning. We're explorers by nature, and warriors when necessary," Zila added. "Which brings me to the purpose of this excursion." She activated a hidden panel, revealing a secure compartment. From it, she removed what appeared to be an ancient data crystal. "Do you know what this is?" Allison shook her head. "This contains information not shared with your diplomat's intelligence about a third party interested in ensuring our negotiations fail." Allison straightened. "A threat." The Draconian Horde has never accepted their defeat at human hands. They fear an alliance between Zarkonians and humans would permanently shift power in this sector. Have they made specific threats? Zila's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "More than threats, according to our intelligence, they have operatives aboard Nexus Station, planning to disrupt the peace talks, possibly through violence. We need to alert security immediately." "That would be unwise," Zila cautioned. "We don't know who has been compromised. My bringing this directly to you bypasses potential leaks." Allison considered the implications. "Why trust me with this? Your Highness, Zarkonians are not known for sharing intelligence." Zila's expression softened slightly. "Your display in the training bay proved something important. You fought with honor. But more significantly, you showed respect for our ways. This suggests you value understanding over dominance, a rare quality." She handed the crystal to Allison. "This contains everything we know. Names, suspected locations, communication codes. My advisors counseled against sharing it. But I believe our people's future security outweighs traditional caution." Allison accepted the crystal, its weight seemingly greater than its size. "Thank you for trusting me. I'll ensure this reaches the right people without compromising your source." "There's more," Zila continued. "The Draconians particularly fear one aspect of our potential alliance, which is genetic compatibility," the princess stated. "Preliminary research suggests that despite our different evolutionary paths, humans and Zarkonians share compatible genetic markers, extremely rare among separate species." Allison blinked in surprise. "Compatible how exactly? Theoretically capable of producing viable offspring, though it has never been attempted," Zila explained. "The Draconians exterminated the only other species they discovered with similar compatibility to themselves centuries ago. They see it as a threat to racial purity." Zila nodded. Their entire culture is built on genetic supremacy. The possibility of successful hybridization undermines their fundamental beliefs. Allison looked out at the stars, absorbing the implications. This information changes everything, which is why I needed to share it privately. The vessel began its return journey to Nexus Station, the stars slowly replaced by the looming structure. What happens now? Zila asked. I'll secure this information and brief Ambassador Porter will need to enhance security discreetly while continuing the peace talks. Zila's scales shifted color slightly. You understand the personal risk I've taken sharing this? I do. Allison met the princess's gaze. And I won't forget it. As they docked, Allison realized something significant had shifted between them. Transcending species and politics, they had become allies. Perhaps even friends facing a common enemy. The crystal felt warm in her pocket, a physical symbol of newfound trust between worlds. Dawn's cycle aboard Nexus Station found Allison in a secure communication room, with Ambassador Porter and Security Chief Nancy Harlow reviewing the crystal's contents. The intelligence appears genuine. Harlow confirmed her weathered face, grim, draconian. Encryption patterns match known protocols and the operatives named have histories consistent with infiltration operations. Ambassador Porter paced the small room. This complicates everything if we cancel the negotiations. The Draconians win if we continue without precautions, we risk violence, we continue, Allison stated. But we adjust security, quietly identify the suspected operatives and monitor them while accelerating the treaty process. Harlow nodded. I can reassign personnel without raising alarms, but we'll need Zarkonian cooperation. Their security systems operate separately from ours. Princess Zila has indicated willingness to coordinate, Allison explained. She took a significant political risk sharing this intelligence. Porter stopped pacing, which raises the question why you command her rather than through diplomatic channels. Allison met her gaze. The princess believes traditional channels may be compromised. She chose me because our interaction established a level of trust convenient. Harlow muttered. We know little about Zarkonian politics. This could be an elaborate ploy to test our reactions. I don't believe so, Allison replied. Everything about her manner suggested genuine concern. Porter sighed. Regardless, we proceed with caution. Increased security, discreet surveillance, monitor the suspects but maintain the appearance of normal negotiations. And the genetic compatibility information. Allison asked. The ambassador and security chief exchanged glances. If verified, that's a scientific breakthrough with enormous implications, Porter said. But also potentially explosive information we keep that classified for now. Focus on security and completing the treaty. As the meeting concluded, Harlow remained behind with Allison. You've gotten close to the princess, the security chief observed. Closer than any human has managed with Zarkonian royalty. It wasn't intentional. Harlow's expression softened slightly. Intentional or not, it's valuable. Maintain that connection, but remember your primary loyalty. Understood. Allison left the secure room, her mind churning with implications. She nearly collided with a tall Zarkonian turning the corner. My apologies, she began. Then recognized Trill, the diplomatic advisor. He inclined his head, scales shifting color briefly. Guard right, Princess Zila requests your presence in the Botanical Garden Level 3. Now, at your convenience, he replied with formal politeness, though the princess is not known for her patience. I'll go immediately, thank you. The Botanical Garden occupied an entire section of Nexus Station, carefully maintained ecosystems from both human and Zarkonian worlds, created a lush environment unusual on a space station. Allison found the princess examining a flowering plant native to Earth. These are remarkable, Zila commented without turning. They change color based on soil composition. On my world, plants remain fixed in appearance. We call them hydrangeas, Allison explained. They're quite common on Earth. Zila straightened, turning all four eyes, focusing intently. Has your ambassador reviewed the information? Yes, security measures are being implemented discreetly. Relief visibly washed over the princess. Good, my sources indicate the Draconians may act within days. They grow desperate as our negotiations progress. They walk deeper into the garden, passing through various environmental zones. There's something else troubling you, Allison observed. Sela paused beside a small pool containing luminescent fish. The genetic compatibility research I shared, it comes from my personal scientific team, a project unauthorized by the Imperial Council. You've been researching human Zarkonian compatibility secretly. Allison kept her voice neutral. Why curiosity initially, Zila admitted. Then possibility our species have fought, maintained distances, observed, but never truly explored coexistence. The research suggests more than diplomatic relations might be possible, and your council would disapprove. Traditionalists dominate our governing bodies. They fear change, fear dilution of what they consider Zarkonian purity. Her scales darkened with emotion. Despite evidence that genetic diversity strengthens species, Allison considered the implications. Similar concerns exist among some human factions. Yet here we are. Sela gestured between them. Different in form, but perhaps not as different in essence as once believed. A comfortable silence fell between them as they continued walking through the garden. The formal treaty signing is scheduled for tomorrow, Allison noted, assuming no draconian interference. A historic moment, Zila agreed. Though I find myself more interested in what follows. Treaties are just beginnings. What do you hope follows? Princess Zila's scales shifted through subtle color patterns. Genuine exchange between our worlds, not just formal diplomatic relations, but cultural, scientific, personal connections. She paused. Perhaps even exchanges like ours becoming more common. Before Allison could respond, her communication device chimed with an urgent signal. Commander Wright, security breach detected in Sector 7. Harlow's voice came through. Suspected draconian operatives. Moving toward the environmental controls. Allison straightened. Understood. Moving to intercept. She turned to Zila. Your Highness, please return to your quarters under guard. What's happening? Possible security incident. Allison was already moving toward the exit. Standard procedure dictates you return to secured areas. Zila fell into step beside her. I will accompany you. Princess, with respect, that contradicts security protocols. This is my station as much as yours, Zila stated firmly, and if draconians threaten our treaty, I will face them personally. Recognizing the determination in the princess's stance, Allison nodded curtly. Stay behind me and follow instructions without question. They moved swiftly through the station corridors, Allison retrieving a sidearm from a security station as they passed. Zarkonian guards joined them, responding to their own alerts, creating an impromptu mixed-species security team. Reaching Sector 7, they found signs of forced entry at an access hatch. Life support controls, Zila explained. They could alter atmospheric composition, affecting either humans or Zarkonians. Allison gestured the team into defensive positions. Station security will seal all exits. We'll sweep systematically. As they advanced deeper into the environmental section, strange odors suggested chemical tampering. Masks, Allison ordered, distributing emergency breathing gear. Unknown contaminants detected. Zila accepted the human equipment, adjusting it to fit her Zarkonian features. Rounding a corner, they encountered three figures hunched over control panels, their scaled forms immediately identifiable as draconian. Halt station security, Allison called. Weapon raised. The draconians spun weapons, appearing. In clawed hands, one shouted something in their harsh language before opening. Fire chaos erupted as both human and Zarkonian guards returned fire. Allison pushed Xela behind a structural column, taking cover herself. They're trying to reach the central controls, she observed, attempting to lock down life support. Zela's eyes narrowed through her mask. Not if I can help it. Before Allison could stop her, the princess moved with surprising speed, flanking the draconians. Seeing the princess exposed, Allison provided covering fire, forcing the intruders to divide their attention. One draconian broke away, lunging toward Zela with a curved blade. Allison's warning shout was lost in weapons fire as the princess faced the attacker directly. What followed demonstrated why Zarkonian royalty commanded respect in battle. Zela moved with fluid grace despite her size, dodging the blade and counterattacking with natural weapons. Her clawed hands striking with precision. Allison focused on the remaining draconians, catching one with a clean shot while security forces cornered the third. When she turned back, Zila stood over her opponent, the draconian immobilized but alive, the princess bleeding from a shallow wound across her arm. "Secure the prisoners," Allison ordered, "and lock down these controls until they can be thoroughly checked." As medics arrived, Zila waved them toward the injured security personnel first. "Attend to your duties, guard right. I've had worse injuries in training exercises." Allison holstered her weapon, moving closer. "That was reckless, Your Highness." Zila's mouth curved in what Allison now recognized as a smile. "Perhaps, but effective. Our treaty signing will proceed tomorrow as planned." Looking at the captured Draconians, Allison realized the significance. "We fought together, Zarkonians and humans, against a common enemy." "The first of many collaborations, I hope," Zila replied as a medic finally approached to treat her wound. "Perhaps worth mentioning during tomorrow's ceremony, the immediate threat contained." Allison couldn't help but wonder what other challenges awaited their newfound alliance. But something had changed fundamentally today. They had shed blood together, forging bonds stronger than diplomatic words. News of the Draconian incursion spread through Nexus Station security footage of Princess Xila and Commander Wright. Fighting alongside each other became symbolic of the new alliance, despite efforts to keep the incident classified. The treaty signing ceremony was rescheduled with enhanced security protocols. Representatives from both species gathered in the Grand Assembly Hall. Carefully screened and monitored, Allison stood at attention behind Ambassador Porter, her dress uniform now bearing a single new decoration, a Zarkonian symbol of battle cooperation personally awarded by Princess Xila the night before, an unprecedented honor. The princess had explained, fastening the metallic emblem to Allison's uniform. "Never before given to a non-Zarkonian. It marks you as a battle companion of the royal house." The memory brought a slight smile to Allison's face, quickly suppressed as the ceremony began. Ambassador Porter and Trill approached the central podium where the treaty document waited, both digital and physical versions prepared according to the traditions of both species. "Today marks not merely an end to centuries of mistrust," Porter began, "but the beginning of a new chapter in our shared history, a partnership built on mutual respect and common purpose." Trill followed with similar sentiments in the formal Zarkonian diplomatic language, the universal translators rendering his complex phrases into terms humans could understand. Throughout the speeches, Allison maintained her vigilance, scanning the assembled dignitaries for any sign of threat. The captured Draconians had revealed under interrogation that additional operatives might remain undetected. Her gaze met Zila's across the chamber. The princess seemingly relaxed, yet Allison recognized the subtle tension in her posture. She too watched for dangers. The treaty signing proceeded with elaborate ceremony, each representative adding their authorization, the physical document marked with signatures, and genetic identifiers linking the signatories biologically to the agreement. As the final authorizations were completed, the assembly erupted in applause. A genuine sense of accomplishment filling the chamber. Screens displayed images of celebrations. On both homeworlds, Ambassador Porter approached Allison as the formal reception began. "Excellent work, Commander. The joint security operation has significantly strengthened our position. The Zarkonians respect decisive action." "Thank you, Ambassador." "Princess Xila has requested your presence at the royal reception tonight," Porter continued. "Ordinarily, I would assign different personnel for each function, but given your unique relationship with the princess, I'm making an exception." "Understood. One more thing." Porter lowered her voice. "The scientific information about genetic compatibility has been verified by our research team. The implications are significant. Maintain close contact with the princess. She may share additional research." Allison nodded, concealing her surprise at the confirmation. The diplomatic reception continued for hours. Representatives from both species cautiously engaging in conversation, centuries of mistrust slowly giving way to curiosity. Allison maintained her position near the ambassador, observing the interactions until a Zarkonian royal guard approached. "Commander Wright, Princess Xila requests your presence in the observation lounge." Excusing herself, Allison followed the guard through less crowded corridors to a private area reserved for high-ranking officials. She found Xila alone, gazing out at the stars. The princess had changed from her formal ceremonial attire to more practical clothing, though still marked with royal insignia. "The treaty is signed," Xila stated without turning. Generations of conflict officially ended with a few genetic markers and electronic signatures. A significant achievement. Your Highness, Zila turned. Yet paper and promises mean little without action, without trust. She gestured to the viewport. Out there, our people still view each other with suspicion despite what we've accomplished here. Allison moved to stand beside her. Change takes time, but we've created a foundation. Foundations require maintenance. Zila observed. Which brings me to why I asked you here. She activated a nearby console, bringing up star charts and navigational data. These are classified Zarkonian patrol routes along the border regions. Allison recognized immediately. This is highly restricted information. Information I'm sharing with you personally, Zila clarified. Not your military command, not your ambassador, just you. May I ask why? Zila's expression grew serious. The draconian threat has been contained for now, but not eliminated. Their hatred of both our species runs deep, and they have allies we're still struggling to identify. You're proposing continued cooperation beyond the treaty. I'm proposing something more specific. Zila highlighted a region. On the chart. This is the Callisto Nebula, largely unexplored by either of our species. Rumors suggest draconian activity there, possibly a forward operating base. Allison studied the data. Deep space territory, technically neutral under the new treaty. Exactly. I've arranged for a small exploratory vessel ostensibly for scientific research but equipped for reconnaissance. Understanding dawned. You want joint exploration. I want you specifically. Zila stated, commanding the human contingent alongside. Allison looked up in surprise. Me, a diplomatic security officer, not an explorer or scientist. You're adaptable, respected by my people, and most importantly, Zila paused. I trust you. The princess continued, before Allison could respond. This mission would establish precedent for future cooperation, demonstrate our commitment beyond formal agreements, and potentially address a shared threat. I would need authorization, already requested through appropriate channels, Zila assured her. Presented as a scientific and cultural exchange, your ambassador seemed quite enthusiastic. Particularly about the cultural aspects. Allison raised an eyebrow. Cultural aspects? Zila's scales shifted color slightly. I may have emphasized the genetic research opportunities continuing the compatibility studies we discussed, I see. We would depart in 3 cycles. Zila continued. A small crew, equal numbers from both species, minimal profile, maximum deniability. If we encounter difficulties, Allison considered the proposal essentially a covert operation under scientific cover, an opportunity to build something meaningful from the foundation we've created. Zila corrected, and perhaps address potential threats before they materialize. How long? 6 months standard time, possibly longer depending on findings. Allison turned back to the stars, considering the implications. 6 months in deep space with a mixed species crew facing unknown dangers, exploring the unknown together. Zila added, isn't that what both our species ultimately desire beneath the politics and posturing? A small smile formed on Allison's lips. When you put it that way, Your Highness, it does sound appealing. Is that acceptance, Commander? Pending official authorization? Yes. Zila's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture Allison had come to recognize as satisfaction. Excellent preparations are already underway. The vessel Eclipse awaits in the outer docking ring. You are confident of my answer? I was hopeful. Zila corrected. There's a difference. They stood together watching the stars, both contemplating the journey ahead, the boundaries they would cross, both physical and metaphorical. There will be challenges, Allison noted. Beyond the obvious dangers, cultural differences, command structures, personal space. All bridges worth building require effort, Zila replied. And patience. The reception continued without them, diplomats celebrating an achievement while in the quiet observation lounge. 2 individuals from different worlds laid plans for turning paper promises into meaningful change. Allison thought about the path that had brought her here, from their confrontational first meeting to fighting side by side, now planning a journey into unknown space. I never expected this outcome when I removed my armor that first day, she admitted. Nor did I when I mocked you for wearing it. Zila's voice carried a hint of humor. Perhaps we both had lessons to learn. And more ahead, I suspect, undoubtedly, the princess agreed. But we'll face them together as allies, as friends. Allison suggested. Zila considered the human word, friends. Yes, I believe that term applies now regardless of what we may become. The implications of that statement lingered between them as they continued planning their journey into uncharted territory. The Eclipse hung in space, its sleek design blending Zarkonian and human engineering approaches, creating something entirely new. The vessel represented the first true collaboration between the species beyond diplomatic agreements. Allison stood on the bridge, familiarizing herself with the hybrid control systems, her position as human commander, still feeling surreal. Despite weeks of preparation, all systems operational, reported Susan Taylor. The human science officer, environmental controls, stabilized for both species. Zarkonian crew reports ready, added Krell, the massive security chief, his scales darkened with excitement for the mission ahead. Allison nodded. Thank you. Maintain position until the princess arrives. Final preparations had kept Princess Zila occupied with imperial responsibilities, the mission officially classified as scientific exploration with diplomatic overtones, its security aspects known only to select personnel. The airlock cycled, drawing attention as Zila entered the bridge, her travel attire practical yet still bearing royal insignia. The Zarkonian crew immediately stood straighter in her presence. Commander Wright. She greeted formally for the benefit of the crew. Status report. All systems ready. Your Highness, crew assembled, supplies secured. We await your command to depart. Zila surveyed the bridge, noting the careful arrangement of stations accommodating the physiological needs of both species. Excellent. Begin departure sequence. Allison relayed the orders as Zila took her position in the command chair designed specifically for Zarkonian physiology. Beside it stood a human equivalent. Establishing the joint command structure they had negotiated, screens displayed Nexus station growing smaller as the Eclipse moved away, its experimental engines humming with power. Set course for the Callisto Nebula, standard approach. Zila ordered. Course laid in, confirmed the Zarkonian navigator. Estimated travel time 14 days at sustainable speed. As the ship accelerated toward its destination, Allison observed the crew, humans and Zarkonians, working side by side, initial awkwardness giving way to professional cooperation. They had trained together for weeks, but this was the first real testance. Routine operations were established. Zila gestured Allison toward the captain's ready room, adjacent to the bridge inside. The small chamber featured adjustable environmental controls, allowing comfortable meetings between the species. So, it begins, Zila remarked as the door closed. Our experiment in cooperation. More than an experiment, Allison replied. A commitment. Zila activated a secure display showing their planned route. The nebula's radiation will provide cover for our scans, making detection difficult for any draconian outposts, assuming the intelligence is accurate. A reasonable concern, Zila acknowledged. But multiple sources have indicated activity in this region beyond normal traffic patterns, they discussed. Tactical approaches for several hours, identifying contingencies and establishing protocols for potential encounters. We should join the crew for the evening meal. Zila eventually suggested. Establishing social connections will be as important as operational efficiency. The mess hall had been designed with communal spaces and separate food preparation areas, accommodating the distinct biological needs of each species. Allison and Zila entered together, a symbolic gesture not lost on the assembled crew. Conversation paused briefly before resuming as they collected their meals and joined a mixed group at the central table. We were just discussing evolutionary adaptations, Susan explained, comparing environmental pressures on our homeworlds, a fascinating subject, Zila commented, taking her seat, particularly the parallel developments despite our separate origins. The conversation flowed surprisingly easily, scientific curiosity overcoming cultural differences as the journey's first day concluded. Allison felt cautiously optimistic. Days passed in similar fashion, the routine of space travel creating a rhythm that transcended species, differences, training exercises, scientific studies, and shared meals gradually building cohesion. Allison found Zila in the observation lounge late in the ship's night cycle. the princess studying star charts with intense concentration. Trouble sleeping? Allison asked, joining her. Zarkonians require less rest than humans, Zila explained. Particularly royalty, were genetically modified for efficiency. One of many things we're learning about each other. Zila deactivated the charts, turning her attention fully to Allison. The crew is integrating well better than I anticipated. Shared purpose, powerful motivator. Indeed. Zila's four eyes studied Allison. You've adapted to Zarkonian command structures remarkably well. I've observed no territorial behaviors common among human leaders. Allison smiled slightly. Perhaps I'm not typical, or perhaps you understand the mission's importance beyond personal ambition, Zila suggested. Few in either of our species truly grasp what we're attempting here. Creating precedent. Zila nodded. If we succeed, others will follow. If we fail, reconciliation may take generations. The weight of that responsibility hung between them as they gazed out at the passing stars. We enter the nebula tomorrow, Allison noted, commencing active scans and potential contact with Draconian forces. Zila added, Our first test as a unified crew. We're ready. The princess's scales shifted through subtle patterns. You sound confident. In the crew. Yes, in our preparations. Allison met her gaze directly. In us. Something unspoken passed between them. A connection, transcending professional collaboration. The ship's alert system interrupted signaling proximity to the nebula's outer boundary earlier than expected. Zila noted, both rising immediately. On the bridge, the night crew monitored unusual energy readings. From within the gaseous clouds, configuration matches Draconian signatures, Captain, reported the sensor operator. But larger than anticipated. Allison studied the readings, not a forward base. A fleet gathering point. Zila concluded. They're assembling. Forces' tactical displays showed dozens of ships concealed within the nebula's radiation. They're preparing for something significant, Allison observed. Possibly against both our territories. Zila's expression hardened. We need more information. Before alerting our governments, activate stealth systems and proceed at minimum power. The Eclipse slipped deeper into the nebula, its advanced shielding deflecting the corrosive gases while specialized sensors gathered intelligence for 3 days. They mapped the Draconian presence, carefully avoiding detection, while documenting ship movements and communications. In the command center, Allison and Zila reviewed the accumulated data pattern suggests staged attacks. Allison indicated the deployment. Formations, multiple targets hit simultaneously, overwhelming individual defenses. Coordinated strikes against both human and Zarkonian worlds. Zila agreed, exploiting the treaty transition period before joint defense protocols are implemented. We need to warn both governments, agreed, but transmission from here would reveal our position. Zila studied the tactical display. We need a secure relay point. Allison highlighted a small system at the nebula's edge. Abandoned mining outpost here. Could amplify our signal while we maintain distance. Good thinking. Prepare a comprehensive data package including all scan results and tactical analysis as they work together. Finalizing the report, a proximity alert sounded. Draconian patrol. Vessel altering course toward our position, reported Krell. They may have detected our emissions. Evasive maneuvers. Zila ordered, maintain stealth protocols. The Eclipse moved deeper into the nebula using gas pockets and radiation fields for cover, but the patrol continued pursuit. They've locked weapons, Susan reported. Targeting systems active, defensive posture. Allison commanded, prepare countermeasures. Zila made a swift decision. We can't outrun them without revealing our full capabilities. Deploy the modified probe. The specialized device launched from the Eclipse, creating duplicate sensor signatures, confusing the Draconian targeting systems. Direct hit on the probe. Krell announced, they believe they've destroyed us. Maintain emissions silence. Zila ordered, let them report our destruction. They watched as the patrol conducted minimal verification before departing. Apparently satisfied. Clever strategy. Allison commented, now they won't be looking for us. Temporary advantage. Zila cautioned, we still need to transmit our findings and extract safely. They resumed course toward the relay point, moving with extreme caution. In the ready room later, Zila and Allison prepared the final report. This confirms our worst fears. Allison noted, they never intended to honor any peace, they were simply waiting for opportunity. Yet in their planning, they've revealed their strategy. Zila pointed out, giving us chance to prepare. Allison looked up from the data. This mission has already succeeded beyond expectations, not just the intelligence gathered, but proving our species can work together effectively. More than effectively. Zila's voice softened, harmoniously. Their eyes met, understanding, passing. Between them without words when we return, Zila continued, many things will change. The response to this threat will accelerate integration between our forces, our cultures. Is that what you hoped for? It is what I believed possible, Zila replied. From the moment you removed your armor, showing both vulnerability and strength. Allison smiled at the memory. We've come a long way from that first meeting, and further still to go. Zila added, both our peoples and perhaps us. The princess moved. Closer, her hand briefly touching Allison's. The genetic compatibility research continues, showing promising results, beyond theoretical.